Christine is the Chief Operating Officer and Chief Engineer at NanoX, a startup company that's creating an innovative cancer radiation therapy treatment suitable for large reference centers, but also for small town hospitals. I'll let Christine describe a little more about NanoX. But Christine was previously Senior Systems Engineer with the French multinational Thales. She's the Sydney Young Professional Engineer of the Year from Engineers Australia a couple of years ago. She was named among a group of select female innovators and leaders for the 40 Under 40 Women in Tech by Girls in Tech Taiwan. She was New South Wales. She was the Young Alumna Award winner from the Faculty of Engineering here at the University of Sydney, and she was previously the chair of Young Engineers Australia. Please welcome Christine. Dr. Nick Cernias is the General Manager of My Health Test Pty Ltd. He's the Non-Executive Director of NTP Connect, one of the sponsors today. And previously, he was the Executive Director of the Warren Center. So Nick was Ashley before Ashley was Ashley. And he was in this role just a few years ago. Nick is also an non-executive director at ASIC, the Australian Centre for Innovation and International Competitiveness. Previously, Nick was the CEO of Seeing Machines Limited, a publicly listed company that used vision technology to do real-time face and facial tracking, and previously held senior management technology roles in CTI, Molecular Imaging, Murata Solutions, and Amcor Limited. Please welcome Nick. Dr. Ron Weinberger is the President of Technology Development and Commercialization at Nanosonics. Dr. Weinberger has been with Nanosonics for 13 years. He was appointed Executive Director in 2008, Managing Director and CEO from 2011 to 2013. As President of Technology Development and Commercialization since 2013, Dr. Weinberger is responsible for the direction of the company's technology and the identification of new product and commercial opportunities. Ron has more than 20 years' experience in medical research and biotechnology. Dr. Weinberger is co-inventor of several of Nanosonics' key technology patents and was awarded the 2014 Warren Center Innovation Hero Award. Please welcome Ron. I'll move to the stool here, and I'll ask a question to each of the panelists, and then we'll open it up for your questions, which are on your mind. Christine, NanoX is the newest of these entrant startup companies on stage today. You're commercializing radiotherapy treatment for cancer. Can you tell us what is NanoX and what are some of the challenges of innovating in the biomed technology sector and the startup environment?
Right, so NanoX is a startup based in Cicada Innovations, which is across the other side of the station, Redmond Station, that incubates deep technology startups. 1/5 of the population die from cancer, and at the moment, if you live in, no, we're not even talking about people in Africa or China. If you live in places like Wagga Wagga or rural Australia, you have a 30% higher chance of dying from cancer than someone who lives in Sydney. And to us, that's just not right. Like, cancer doesn't differentiate how much you're worth or where you live in. So we believe cancer treatment shouldn't be either. So we're trying to, or we're designing radiotherapy machines that are 1/4 the current size of radiotherapy machines, require 1/4 the staff and 1/4 the cost. So these machines can be sent and installed to rural clinics and hospitals, small hospitals, and can be supported by people by smaller towns rather than big cities like Sydney. So that's what we're trying to achieve.
Excellent.
And the other question was?
Just how is the medtech sector different from other industry sectors that you've been engaged with?
How is it different? So in my previous career, I worked in defense and I also worked in telco and academia. And I think with defense and telco and medtech, the good thing about what really drew me to these two industries is people care a lot about what they work on, and they tend to be some of the most complicated engineering engineering problems you can work on in the world. So that's what really attracted me to these two industries. The difference, I think, is with MedTech, you're dealing with the general public. You're not working for just one customer, the Australian Defence Force. The difference comes into, you really see that difference reflected in the design process, the engineering process, and even the how you attract investors and funding for these projects is very different. In terms of challenges, I think for us being the country that we're very lucky to be a very wealthy country. So we have some very resourceful investors, but I guess it's the same problem that every country that's not America faces is most investors tend to be very short-term focused. So they want to see immediate results. So there's a lot of investment going on in the IoT industry, in web-based applications, in even the property market, like Dan mentioned before. But when it comes to medical devices, where you're looking at a return of investment that's 5 years down the road, or 10 years, 15 years down the road, most investors are like, oh, that's too far away, I'm not even sure where I'm going to be at by then. So that to me is a big challenge. The other big challenge being Australian-based is finding the right talent. There's not a lot of, being in radiotherapy, there's no other big company in Australia that works in radiotherapy that's Australian-based and headquartered. So it's really hard to find local talent who are experienced in this area, and even just hard to find local talent who are experienced working in complex projects in systems engineering. So resource and talent pool and investment, I think, are two of the biggest challenges.
Thanks, Christine. I'll take the next question to Nick. Nick, My Health Test is an at-home test kit with electronic test results. Can you tell us how the solution works, and tell us what some of the issues are about transferring health data electronically for your enterprise and for other people that are in the health innovation sector?
Sure, thanks Ashley. Look, My Health Test is a little pathology company. That's on, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hello, yes. Okay, so My Health Test is a little pathology company. We're a bit different to traditional pathology. You go to the doctor, and the doctor says you need to get some blood tests, and you'll go down the road and they'll stick a needle in your arm and draw a venous sample and send that off for analysis, and the results will go back to your doctor and you're out of the loop mostly. You don't really know what's going on. By contrast, what we do is you can order a test from us on our website, and we will post to you a little kit, a little self-collection kit, sitting at your breakfast table in your jammies. You can finger stick your finger, drop a couple of drops of blood onto a special card, and pop that in an envelope, protects the sample, and on your way to work, after you've had a shower and you're not late for your first meeting, and you haven't missed breakfast, you pop that sample in the mail, and the day we get the sample, we'll have analysed it on that day and send the results back to you electronically. You can have those results sent to your partner or your physician, your GP, and have that all automatically set up. So the difference is we're a direct-to-consumer pathology company, and we give the results to you with some information that helps you understand what the results mean and give you a chance of absorbing them in the privacy of our own home at a time and a pace that suits you, and then you can take that information off to the doctor with yourself and have an informed discussion with your doctor about what we do about it. So that's what we do. Challenges in the electronic delivery of results is, of course, security. We're talking about health information, and you have to take a negative view of the world and assume that you're going to get hacked, and assume that there's going to be some problem, and so you have to build in from the very beginning how you deal with that. It's a big deal, and of course it would be a big issue for us as a commercial entity if we were to be hacked and lose information and that to go public, and the scandals that hit credit card companies with loss of data, etc. Those things are a big problem. So you have to build in, multiple layers of defence against those issues right from the very, very beginning. It's not something you can add on later on as an afterthought. It has to be thought of right from the very beginning. Consumers are very interested in the convenience that we offer, and there's a trade-off in terms of the the willingness to trade our privacy away. We all do it with Facebook and all the other social networks that we're part of. And we get some benefits for that trade-off. Sometimes we don't think about those trade-offs, we just do it sort of instinctively, and we've been drawn into the modern world. But we nonetheless have made a trade. And you need to be conscious about the trade that you make, and if you're not, then we as a vendor providing solutions, we have to be conscious of it on your behalf. And so it's absolutely crucial that we take that into account and make a lot of effort on our part to try and secure those things. And so there's lots of layers to do that.
That's good. That's good. You'll see on the bottom of the slide up here the hashtag TWC Innovation. That's the Warren Center Innovation. If you're a Twitter person, this is your time to get your question in early. We'll take the first couple of questions on Twitter if we can. Alex is going to give me an eye or a hand signal if Twitter is working well. If you're a Telstra user and you're down on the bottom row, that might not work so well. If you're on the university Wi-Fi or if you're up at the top row, that probably will work for you. I did a little bit of research online, Ron, and I looked yesterday, Nanosonics' 2016 AGM report. The company posted a 93% increase in sales, 110% increase in gross profits, and an installed base of 120,000 units. Those results are placing you sort of in the pole position number one for the local entrepreneurship panel here today, and the most mature of the three companies that were featured, but you're still just 17 years old. So sort of as a 17-year-old adolescent company, could you tell us a little about the Nanosonics technology and solution, and describe what barriers Nanosonics had to overcome in the last 2 decades to get adoption of the technology at this 120,000 unit level?
Thanks. Actually, we're not quite at 120,000, but yeah, hopefully that's a prophetic vision for us. Which you're actually describing there. Look, our technology is involved in disinfection and sterilisation, and the platform technologies that we're developing are really focused on the healthcare sector at the moment, but the opportunities are in a multitude of different markets, whether it's catering, whether it's aged care facilities and even childcare facilities. We have a sort of I guess, a history in the healthcare, the background of the board, and my background has been medical research originally, and so we're really focused on the healthcare space. Our first product is, well, I guess, what's the problem and the need to go to Professor Gallay's question. And the need was that, for 30, 40 years, people were basically using toxic chemistries to disinfect, heat-sensitive medical devices. And the problem is quite deep in the sense that diagnostic devices are primarily heat-sensitive technology and electronics, and essentially the disinfection space was not keeping up with the advances in the technology. And so people were using these toxic chemistries, and there were occupational health and safety issues. People were getting sort of anaphylactic reactions. People were getting basically immune responses, and in some cases actually dying from exposure to these chemistries. So we decided to play in what we call the point-of-care disinfection space. All the big players play in central sterilisation, sort of the 3Ms and the Johnson & Johnsons and these companies play in the central sterilisation space. And we basically saw the opportunity in that clinics, as more of these diagnostic devices are being generated, clinics are going to actually have to disinfect and sterilise at the point of care because the inventory management and the cost of equipment is so high. So our first product is for disinfecting ultrasound transducers. It's a device that's the size of the microwave on its side. It's about 13, 14 kilograms. And it can be placed in medical facilities, in radiology clinics in particular, and it allows people to do their disinfection of their ultrasound transducers very much in the clinic where the patient is, which is quite revolutionary from where it originally was done in this room in the middle of the radiology clinic or facility with negative pressure and venting and having to gown up in all sorts of stuff to be able to actually go and just disinfect something. So that's really where our technology is. In terms of challenges, The challenge, I guess, is really, and we work on this all the time, is making something that people will want and focusing on something then that will have the market opportunity in order to be able to capitalise on that desire that customers and consumers need. Having a good technology is a tiny bit of the solution to commercialising the product. It really comes down to finding the right opportunity and to integrate a very strong business case from the ground up very early on. One of the things that Nanosonics did that I think was different was actually go and invest the time and the energy to find the niche opportunities and to be able to grow the business, particularly as we were talking before when we were about to have a deal with Pentax of 12.5 million euros, and Hoya bought out Pentax, and so they were sitting in the room as we were talking before, thinking, what are we going to do now? We have no idea. So at that point, that's when you go out into the medical and healthcare community to try and find problems that really need solving and how you can actually apply that technology.
With the time remaining, I'm going to go to the audience and take questions. Noah is going to come around with a speaker, with a microphone. Maybe.
Don't have an extra one.
Don't have an extra one. He's going to borrow one from the stage and come around. But first, what I'm going to do is I promised and take a question from the floor on Twitter. The question's from Mark Smith. He says that the New South Wales state priorities become the easiest state to start a business. And the question is, what do governments need to do to achieve this? I'm going to pitch that question cold to Nick Cernias and let him tell us what New South Wales government can do to help, or what governments in general can do to help entrepreneurs start new businesses in the health, technology, innovation space.
Thanks, Ashley. Thanks, Mike. Look, government's serve an important role, but at the end of the day, it's business that needs to do, and they do it with the assistance of academia, and government is there to facilitate and to prod and cajole and to push. But in the end, it's up to the businesses to actually do it. The government wants businesses to succeed and prosper and employ people and pay taxes and make revenue for the economy, etc. MTP Connect, which was one of the sponsors that I'm a director of, that's an effort by the government to try and facilitate and help the industry do its thing. And I think there's all sorts of programs that the government do engage in to try and facilitate. There's policy levers, there's pull. There are grants that they offer. There are things like MTP Connect that are out there as an advocate for industry and for business. And really, it's up to us, industry, and us, the academic community, to engage with that and to try and take what's there. There are an enormous array of advantages and services that are offered, and really, it behooves us all to go and make use of those services. It's sometimes hard to find out about them. Go and engage with. I know there are a couple of people from MTP Connect here today, which hands up, so they're out there. Go and talk to those two people if you're an academic or a business here who's looking for assistance. They will help you engage. But government is there not to do the job for you, they're there to help you, and so it's up to you to do it. And I think the course and Dr. Goliath's comments about the importance of academics finding out a way to make that transition to commercialisation is really important and challenging. And this course is actually a good way to try and help that happen. You need to, as an academic and as a clinician who works in sort of an academic side, you're the most passionate about your idea, and making it work in the commercial world is hard work. And so you're the one who has the most knowledge and the most capability about your idea, and ultimately you are the best place to drive that forward. And if you can be given some skills to help you do that and link with others around you that are capable of helping you do that, then that's going to give you a push through what is a very difficult journey. A journey to commercial success is a long and sometimes challenging one, and you need that assistance. So that's what government can help, is that assistance.
And now we'll go to the floor with a question. Who's got a question out in the audience? Well, then.
My name is Ken Nunn. I'm a business advisor on the Entrepreneurs Program. So just in terms of government, we actually help companies that have been around 3 years turn the 1.5 mil and in sales or in turnover, so they don't have to have made sales here. So we actually have, some small amounts of money and research money to help firms who wanted to do that. So just that I
Go and talk to him too.
Yeah, that's right. You see, you did mention entrepreneurs programs. I should do it.
Who wants to have a go with that?
Well, I'll add that the Entrepreneurs Program is another great program from the government, and it is worth engaging. So that's My Health Test is an example. We've been the beneficiaries, the recipients of a number of grants along the way and programs, including that one. And they do assist. They make inroads. They help you. Cash is king. We were discussions before. What were the 2 rules of business? Don't run out of money. Don't run out of money. They're important.
Okay, another question from the floor.
Question for Christine and Nick. Can you make some comment on your needs analysis before you committed fully to your ideas?
Sure. It's you need a need. You must have a need, and you really are not going to survive if there isn't someone who's going to buy it. And so you need to go out to the market and find out. It's all well and good to have an idea, and if you're an engineer, and many of us engineers, I'm an engineer originally, we promote our idea. We think we've got the greatest thing, put the blinkers on and charge forwards, and you can fall in a big hole doing that if you don't engage with the market and really find out what the need is, because if the need's not there, no one's going to buy it and it's not going to work. So a lot of market research, a lot of talking, a lot of engaging laterally and thinking left, right and centre. You get caught out by the thing you didn't ever think of, and so you need to find those things. The only way to do it is to talk other people have the solution that you don't. That's my view. So that's what we did. We went and spoke to hundreds of people, lots of people from different sectors. We started in the diabetes space, so we have a focus at the moment on providing a test that is for people who have diabetes or pre-diabetes or potentially think they might have diabetes. So for diagnosing, staging, and managing the condition. And it's a big market, it's growing. A lot of people are worried about it, so it's been successful for us, but we've had to find a way to bear through a lot of discussion.
Yeah, needs analysis was something that was new to me when I went from defence to medtech. It's a very challenging and interesting area, I think. As a startup, we don't necessarily, especially when we were just the founder, so employee of one, it was impossible for us to go out and talk to different hospital admins and oncologists and etc. and RTs to ask their opinion and do that market analysis. So we contracted that work out to a company called ID, who is here today, and they really went out and spoke to a lot of those people in the industry for us and gathered that opinion. It is very important to get your market analysis, user analysis in place before you even start doing any design work. As an engineer, to me it's just natural. Like, of course my idea is brilliant. Of course whatever I'm working on, the rest of the world wants. Why wouldn't you want it? It's awesome. The rest of the world doesn't necessarily think that, and sometimes, and you hear that a lot from startups. The idea you came up with, oftentimes is going to be very, very different to what actually goes out into market, and that's derived from all of that analysis and talking to people along the way and really realizing what the market actually wants is different to what you originally came up with. So there's that, and it's also very important to get your KOL in place early, to get your key opinion leaders in place early, so you have the input necessary to before you even start putting pen to paper.
Thank you, Christine. There's one more question on Twitter that I'll direct to Professor Gulai. Peter Waldarczyk asks if you can comment, Professor Gulai, on using the lean startup method approach in medtech. What are some of the advantages of going with minimum viable product and following the advice of Nick Cerny as don't run out of cash, don't run out of
let me generalize it a little bit beyond that and also related to what was said here. Biomed field is endless. You know, when you think about all the needs that will continue, we'll find new needs. The population is aging, we have different kind of problems that appear, and actually all the time we'll be looking for more solutions that are cost effective. And actually, you know, we have to emphasize the issue of being cost effective, because sometimes you can find a solution that is too costly or the market is not bearing the cost, like all kinds of orphan type of diseases. Nobody wants to find them. So you can improve on the existing, you can do something that is more sort of wide and you know, looking ahead 10 years ahead. But what is common to the biomed is it's a win-win. It enhances the welfare of the population. Compare, let's say, to video games. You have a lot of startups in the video games. But there's no guideline what is the next video game. Who could have imagined that Angry Bird will be big? You don't have any sort of, you come to a market that cannot assess the needs. You create something and you try to have everybody obsessed by it and sort of praying by it. In the biomed, it's completely different in this sense. You can see the needs and you can try to apply new technologies, new ideas, and again, as I said, in a cost-effective way. So it's a huge area, and I didn't mention it. For example, in the biodesign, I initiated such a program at the University of Melbourne. So they started 2 years ago. Out of the initial 5 projects, 3 are going ahead. They won all kinds of prizes. One team is going out to Texas Medical Center for half a year. It's catheter for babies. And, you know, we want to promote it in other places. Maybe the University of Sydney, we want to have a program like that. And I believe that we can have it in 100 universities, and still it's not that I'm afraid that all the projects will end. We won't have any good ideas. This biomed is endless in this area. So we can have many universities collaborating, because also one thing that you should keep in mind, sometimes when you think that you are unique, probably somewhere somebody is doing something similar. So sometimes to have a network, knowing what's going on in other places is very beneficial. I think that also one word about the government, New South Wales, I think that they signed an MOU of cooperation with the Weizmann Institute, and next week the governor of Victoria is going to the Hebrew University to sign an MOU also in the biodesign. So to have some joint projects financed by the government. So the government can supply the money that is needed for such cooperation. And again, it's a win-win, because you create more jobs, more people are engaged in it, and it's good for the population. It's really welfare enhancer, this kind of work.
Thank you, Professor Gulati. I know that many of us are needing to get back to the office and start a day job. The Warren Center thanks our panelists, and I'll ask you to give them a short round of applause. We do this on a regular basis. Whether the topic is biomedical technology, whether it's energy, cybersecurity, the Warren Center convenes a number of talks in the space of innovation, how technology is changing the future, and how we need to react. Just to let you know some of the programs that are ongoing presently, we're running a program on women in STEM and entrepreneurship this year, next year, and the following year. If you're interested in that, please contact Alex Harrington down front, and she'll make a connection with you. I'll announce today that our 2017 Innovation Lecturer will be Professor Andrew Harris. Andrew's a unique individual who has 1 foot in the university and 1 foot over at Lang O'Rourke Construction. He's taking technologies like robotics and artificial reality and moving them from the university space into the construction industry, an industry that Andrew describes as sort of a laggard in innovation. Andrew will be speaking in Canberra in September and in Sydney on Wednesday night, October the 18th at Martin Place. Finally, I will invite Eric Zopke from Swap Attorneys to come give our vote of thanks, and appreciate your attendance this morning.
Thank you, Ashley. Swap Attorneys is a firm that has a great commitment to commercialisation. That was the founder of our firm was Fred Spartan. He always had that commitment. Before I was a lawyer, I was a marketing manager for about 20 years. And one thing that they taught me was that you have to focus on the market and give that market a unique solution. We sometimes come across lots of inventors who invent something, sometimes just to get away from their wives, or possibly politically incorrect to say. They expect the world to beat a path to their door. It doesn't happen that way. I was very interested in what Professor Gallai had to say on the subject of focusing on the market need, first of all, and then providing a unique solution to that, and also to be flexible, to be prepared to change your plan. Now that particular aspect has come out in the talks of all our panellists, Mr. Chen, Dr. Weinberger and Dr. Chinese. All of them are looking at that market, deciding what the market needs and being flexible and unique in meeting those needs. I just make one comment on this. We're dealing here with a healthcare industry. It is a massive industry and it is growing in a very sustained way. And the opportunities in this field are enormous. I would like to thank our panellists for giving us some very fascinating insights into this very important